Location tracking updated. I froze, staring at my phone. I hadn't set up any location tracking. Someone else had, without my knowledge or consent. After digging through my settings, I discovered an app disguised as a system utility. It had been installed 3 months ago, exactly when my wife started asking fewer questions about my whereabouts. I'm a network security engineer, not some tech-illiterate target. Finding this wasn't an accident. I noticed my battery draining faster and decided to investigate. What I discovered made my blood run cold. Every movement, every client meeting, every stop for coffee, she'd been watching it all. But why? Our 8 years of marriage hadn't given me reason to suspect she didn't trust me. Instead of confronting her immediately, I decided to observe. That night at dinner, she casually asked if my meeting downtown had run long. Traffic, I replied, watching her face. She nodded, glancing at her phone. Checking my location, I realized. The invasion felt like a knife twisting in my chest, but I maintained my composure. If she wanted to play detective, I'd let her think she had the upper hand. The next morning, I left my phone at a coffee shop near my office while meeting a client. When I returned, 3 missed calls from her. "Everything okay?" she texted. "You haven't moved from that coffee shop in an hour." I made up an excuse about battery issues and watched her expression soften with relief when I came home. This wasn't normal concern. This was obsession. I began creating a pattern, leaving my phone places deliberately while documenting her reactions. Sometimes she'd call immediately. Other times, she'd text questions that revealed she knew exactly where I'd been. I started taking screenshots, recording calls, keeping a detailed log. The methodical collection of evidence kept me focused, prevented me from confronting her in anger. While searching for my passport in our home office, I discovered a journal hidden in her desk. The entries painted a disturbing picture. Paranoid thoughts, unfounded suspicions, logs of my movements with bizarre interpretations. She'd created entire scenarios in her mind. Affairs, secret meetings, lies, all fiction. She wasn't just tracking me. She was building a false narrative around my every move. That night, I lay beside her, staring at the ceiling as she slept peacefully. The woman I'd shared my life with had been spying on me for months. Whatever trust had existed between us was shattered. I needed to understand if this behavior stemmed from something I'd done or if there was something deeper at play. The next day, I told her I had a 3-day business trip coming up. Her face remained neutral, but her body tensed. "That's fine," she said too quickly. "Where are you going?" I gave her the details, watching as she made mental notes. This would be my opportunity to see just how far her surveillance went. But more importantly, it would give me time to think and plan my next move. As I packed my bag, I made a decision. This wasn't a marriage anymore. It was a surveillance operation. And I refused to be monitored like a criminal when I'd done nothing wrong. If she wanted to track me, fine. But now I would be tracking her too. And unlike her, I would find something real. Because people who accuse without cause are often projecting their own guilt. During my business trip, I stayed at a friend's empty vacation property just outside the city. From there, I monitored my home security cameras I'd installed last year, a system she'd forgotten about. The footage revealed something unexpected. She wasn't anxiously checking my whereabouts as I'd assumed. She was relieved by my absence. On the first night, she dressed up and left at 8 p.m., returning after midnight. The second night followed the same pattern. I fought the urge to confront her immediately. Emotional reactions wouldn't serve me now. Instead, I remotely accessed our shared cloud storage and browsed her recent files. There I found dozens of screenshots of my location history and several recordings of my phone calls. Calls she'd apparently been recording without my knowledge. The level of surveillance was staggering. But that wasn't all. I discovered a folder containing conversations with someone saved under a female colleague's name. The messages were clearly romantic, using coded language they thought was clever. This wasn't just invasion of privacy, it was outright betrayal. I cross-referenced the timestamps of her evening outings with the messages. They matched perfectly, while tracking my every move for months, accusing me through her paranoid journal entries. She had been having an affair. The irony might have been amusing if it weren't so painful. When I returned home, I played the role of the oblivious husband. She greeted me with a hug that felt empty, asking about my trip with practiced interest. I gave her the rehearsed details while noting how she kept checking her phone. "Work stress," she explained when I asked. I simply nodded. letting her believe her lie went undetected. That evening, I excused myself to catch up on emails. Instead, I installed my own tracking software on her laptop and phone while she showered. If she wanted to play this game, I'd need to be equally equipped. The software was sophisticated, designed for corporate security, but perfect for my situation. Unlike her amateur attempts, mine wouldn't be detected. Over the next week, I gathered information methodically. Her affair wasn't new. It had started 4 months ago, a month before she began tracking me. The tracking wasn't born from suspicion, it was from guilt. She needed to ensure I wouldn't discover her betrayal by showing up unexpectedly where she was meeting him. I learned their routines, their meeting places, their plans. I documented everything, saving screenshots, recording conversations when legally possible in our state. I wasn't just building evidence of her infidelity now. I was constructing an airtight case that would protect me in what was clearly becoming inevitable. 3 weeks into my counter-surveillance, she made a critical mistake. She left her personal email open on our shared tablet. There, I found conversations with a close friend discussing not just the affair, but their deliberate plan to manipulate our finances. She'd been slowly moving money from our joint account to a private one, preparing her own exit strategy while monitoring me to maintain her cover. That night, I made a decision. I contacted a divorce attorney, not just any attorney, but one specifically recommended for high-conflict cases involving financial deception. When we met the following day, I laid out everything I'd discovered. He listened carefully, taking notes before looking up with determined eyes. "You've done the groundwork most clients never think to do," he said, reviewing my evidence. "Now we need to expand your team. This level of deception requires specialized handling." He recommended 2 additional attorneys with different expertise, one in financial forensics, another in digital evidence. Together, they would form the team that would not just end my marriage, but ensure justice. My first attorney connected me with a private investigator, a former intelligence officer who specialized in infidelity cases. "Most people confront too early," he explained during our initial meeting. "They waste their advantage of knowing. We won't make that mistake." He outlined a comprehensive plan to document every aspect of her betrayal while protecting my assets. The investigators' work quickly confirmed my findings and uncovered more. Her affair wasn't with a co-worker as I'd assumed, but with an old flame who'd recently moved back to town. They'd reconnected through social media, their relationship reigniting almost immediately. The investigator provided photos of their meetings at a mid-range hotel, timestamps perfectly matching her working late excuses. More disturbing was the discovery that she'd opened a separate credit card in my name, gradually building debt I knew nothing about. The financial trail revealed purchases for weekend getaways, expensive gifts, and even consultations with her own divorce attorney 3 weeks ago. While tracking me for her security, she'd been planning her exit strategy all along. The first attorney I consulted specialized in protecting assets. After reviewing my finances, he immediately filed for emergency financial orders to prevent further damage. "We need to move quickly but carefully," he advised. "Change account permissions without alerting her. Redirect your direct deposits. Document everything." Following his guidance, I secured my finances while maintaining the appearance of normalcy. At home, I continued playing my role. I noticed how she created arguments over nothing, documenting my reactions as if building a case against me. One evening, she claimed I seemed distant, suspicious. "Is there something you want to tell me?" she asked, her phone recording our conversation. The projection was almost laughable, accusing me of the very behavior she was guilty of. "Nothing to tell," I replied calmly. "Just focused on work." My non-reactive responses clearly frustrated her. She'd expected me to lash out, to give her ammunition. Instead, I remained composed, denying her the emotional outbreak she sought to capture. The second attorney specialized in digital evidence and privacy law. When I showed him the tracking software she'd installed on my devices, his expression hardened. "This crosses several legal boundaries," he explained. "Unauthorized surveillance is criminal in this state." He helped me document the invasion properly, ensuring all evidence would be admissible in court. Together, we built a comprehensive case. The unauthorized tracking, the financial deception, the recorded conversations without consent, the affair itself. Each element strengthened my position while undermining hers. The attorney smiled grimly as we reviewed everything. She thought she was building a case against you, but she's actually constructed her own downfall. Meanwhile, my wife's behavior grew increasingly erratic. She began testing me, leaving her phone unlocked with message notifications visible, creating situations where jealousy might emerge. Classic manipulation tactics from someone projecting their own infidelity. I recognized each attempt and navigated them with strategic indifference. The third attorney I consulted was known for handling high-conflict divorces. After reviewing my case, he nodded appreciatively. "You've done everything right so far. Now we prepare for the confrontation." We discussed timing, approach, and expectations. The confrontation wouldn't be emotionally driven. It would be a calculated unveiling of truth with legal consequences already in motion. That night, I listened as she spoke on the phone in our bathroom, thinking the running shower masked her voice. "He doesn't suspect anything," she assured her lover. "Everything's proceeding as planned." I recorded her words, adding them to my growing collection of evidence. The final piece was now in place. 3 attorneys, 3 different specialties, 1 unified strategy. While she thought she was tracking me, they were now tracking her. And unlike her unfounded suspicions against me, my case against her was built on concrete evidence of betrayal, deception, and criminal invasion of privacy. The countdown to confrontation had begun. With my legal team assembled, I began executing our carefully crafted strategy. First came financial protection. I opened new individual accounts at different banks and redirected my upcoming paychecks. For our joint accounts, I didn't empty them. That would alert her, but I set up notifications for any withdrawals and reduced my regular deposits, citing a temporary pay reduction at work. My second attorney, the financial specialist, conducted a thorough audit of our assets. We discovered she'd already diverted nearly $45,000 to her secret account over the past months. He filed the necessary paperwork to freeze those funds pending legal proceedings. "She thinks she's being clever," he remarked, "but financial trails are nearly impossible to hide completely." Meanwhile, the digital evidence specialist installed advanced monitoring on our home network. Within days, we had captured her browsing history, revealing searches for how to hide assets in divorce and proving emotional abuse without evidence. She was building a false narrative against me while planning her escape with her lover. The documentation of these searches strengthened my position immensely. At home, her behavior grew increasingly manipulative. She began staging scenarios, leaving evidence of my supposed wrongdoings where I'd find it, creating situations designed to provoke anger, recording my reactions without consent. One evening, she deliberately started an argument about finances, trying to goad me into threatening statements she could use later. I remained calm, responding only with factual statements while aware of her phone recording in her pocket. "You seem stressed lately," she said with false concern after another attempt failed. "Maybe you should talk to someone." Her suggestion wasn't compassion. It was an attempt to establish a record of mental instability on my part. I simply agreed that everyone could benefit from therapy sometimes and changed the subject, denying her the reaction she sought. The third attorney, specialized in high-conflict divorces, prepared me for every manipulation tactic. "She'll escalate when subtlety fails," he warned. "Be ready." His prediction proved accurate. She began involving friends and family, subtly planting seeds of concern about my behavior. I documented each instance meticulously, building evidence of her smear campaign. 4 weeks into our strategy, we received confirmation that she'd consulted with an aggressive divorce attorney known for scorched earth tactics. The timing matched a large withdrawal from our home equity line of credit, money she'd need for the substantial retainer such attorneys command. My team acted swiftly, filing official notices preventing further use of shared credit resources. My investigator continued monitoring her meetings with her lover. They'd grown careless, meeting more frequently and in less discreet locations. Their conversations, legally recorded in public spaces, revealed their joint planning. "Once everything's finalized," she told him during one lunch meeting, "we'll have enough to start fresh together. He'll never know what hit him." The arrogance of their planning fueled my resolve. This wasn't just about ending a marriage anymore. It was about justice. When my financial attorney suggested we bring in a forensic accountant to trace every penny she'd hidden, I agreed immediately. The expense was significant, but the results were worth it. We uncovered 3 additional accounts and a safety deposit box containing cash and jewelry purchased with our joint funds. As our evidence mounted, my team prepared for the confrontation. We selected a date, 3 days after she was scheduled to meet with her attorney again. Let her believe she has the upper hand, my lead attorney advised. The element of surprise remains our greatest advantage. That night, I watched her typing furiously on her phone, presumably messaging her lover. Her face showed no guilt, no conflict about betraying 8 years of marriage. In that moment, any lingering doubt about my course of action vanished completely. I wasn't just protecting myself financially. I was reclaiming my dignity from someone who never deserved my trust. The next morning, I received confirmation from all 3 attorneys that our case was solidified. Everything was in place. The financial protection, the evidence of infidelity, the documentation of her illegal surveillance and financial theft. We're ready whenever you are, my lead attorney messaged. Tomorrow would be the day they tracked her down. And unlike her baseless monitoring of me, this confrontation would be based on undeniable truth. The morning of the confrontation arrived with an unusual calm. I'd taken the day off work without telling her, supposedly attending an all-day conference. When she left for her important meeting at 10 a.m., actually a rendezvous with her lover confirmed by my investigator, my team assembled at our home. 3 attorneys, the private investigator, and a forensic accountant arrived precisely on schedule. We prepared the dining room, setting up evidence folders neatly at each place. Financial records, surveillance documentation, photos of her meetings, transcripts of conversations, legal documents already filed, her own digital footprint revealing her plans against me. The comprehensive case we'd built over months laid out methodically on the table where we once shared family meals. My lead attorney reviewed our approach one final time. Let her speak first. Let her lie. Then we present the evidence systematically. The others nodded in agreement. Remember, he added, emotional reactions give her power. Facts take it away. At 2 p.m., my investigator confirmed she was leaving her lover's apartment. I sent her a text. We need to talk. Come home now. Her response was immediate. At work. Can't leave. Another lie. I replied simply. I know exactly where you are. Come home now, or I'm coming there. 20 minutes later, our security system announced her arrival. She entered looking confused, then stopped cold at the sight of 5 professionals seated at our dining table. The blood drained from her face. Before she could speak, my lead attorney stood. Please join us. We have matters to discuss. Who are these people? She demanded, her voice already shifting to defensive anger. Why are they in our house? These are my attorneys and financial advisors, I said calmly. Please sit down. I don't understand what's happening, she said, attempting to appear innocent and confused. The performance might have been convincing 3 months ago. Let me clarify then, I replied, sliding the first folder toward her. This contains 3 months of location tracking data you installed on my phone without consent, which is illegal in this state. Her eyes widened slightly, the first crack in her facade. And this, I continued, opening a second folder, is evidence of your affair, complete with dates, locations, and financial records showing how you've spent our joint money financing it. She tried interruption, denial, accusation, the predictable responses my attorneys had prepared me for. Each attempt was met with another folder of evidence. When she claimed I was making things up, the investigator silently played audio of her conversation with her lover, planning their future with my money. Her strategy shifted to tears, to pleas for understanding. I made a mistake. We can work through this. The performance fell flat against the mountain of evidence showing months of calculated betrayal. The financial attorney then detailed her systematic theft from our accounts. The forensic accountant explained how we traced every hidden penny. The digital evidence specialist outlined the illegal surveillance she'd conducted. Each presentation was clinical, factual, devastating. When the emotional manipulation failed, she turned hostile. You've been spying on me. That's exactly why I needed to track you. The projection was breathtaking in its audacity. The difference, my attorney interjected calmly, is that our investigation began after discovering your illegal surveillance and financial theft. Your actions came first, without provocation or cause. That distinction matters legally. As reality settled over her, we presented the final document, divorce papers already filed with the court. You have a choice, I explained. Sign these settlement terms acknowledging the evidence we've gathered, or we proceed to court where this becomes public record. The terms were fair despite her actions. I wasn't seeking vengeance, just justice. A clean break with appropriate financial division based on contributions and conduct. The settlement protected me without destroying her completely, though she deserved worse. She stared at the papers, then at me. You planned all this behind my back. The irony of her accusation wasn't lost on anyone in the room. I learned from the best. I replied without emotion. You taught me the value of careful surveillance. As she realized the completeness of her defeat, something changed in her eyes. Recognition that she'd underestimated me entirely. She'd seen me as easy prey. Now she faced a strategist who had outmaneuvered her at every turn. After 3 hours of discussion, negotiations, and occasional outbursts from her, she signed the papers. As my team gathered their materials, she asked bitterly, "How long have you known?" "Long enough to do this right," I answered. "The tracking app you installed had security flaws. For someone so concerned about monitoring me, you should have chosen your tools more carefully." The divorce proceedings finalized faster than expected. My thorough preparation and overwhelming evidence eliminated the usual delays and contentious battles. 6 weeks after the confrontation, I was legally single again. The settlement terms remained as initially proposed, fair but firm, leaving no room for future conflicts or entanglements. My now ex-wife attempted several manipulation tactics during those weeks. First came angry texts accusing me of destroying our marriage. When those went unanswered, she tried nostalgia, sending photos from happier times. Next came the mutual friends approach, sending concerned third parties to check on me while gathering information. Finally, she attempted reconciliation, claiming profound regret and promising change. Each attempt met the same response: silence or referral to my attorneys. My boundaries were non-negotiable now. The woman who had monitored my movements for months had lost all privileges to my time or attention. Her final message, "You've changed," made me laugh for the first time in months. I hadn't changed. I'd simply matched her level of strategic thinking, exceeding it when it mattered most. The financial separation proved remarkably clean thanks to my second attorney's foresight. The forensic accounting had traced and recovered nearly all diverted funds. Her attempt to claim emotional distress collapsed when presented with evidence of her surveillance and infidelity. By the end, even her own attorney advised her to accept the terms rather than face worse consequences in court. 3 months after the discovery of the tracking app, I moved into a new home in a different neighborhood, a property purchased through an LLC my financial attorney had established. My new address remained confidential under state law due to the documented surveillance she had conducted. The irony wasn't lost on me. Her obsession with tracking my location had resulted in losing the legal right to know where I lived. Professional therapy helped me process the betrayal without becoming bitter. "You handled this with remarkable clarity," my therapist noted during our final session. "Many people in your situation either collapse emotionally or seek destructive revenge. You chose strategic justice instead." The observation affirmed my approach. I protected myself without compromising my principles. The 3 attorneys who had guided me through this ordeal became more than legal counsel. The lead attorney invited me to speak at a seminar about digital privacy and marital surveillance. The financial specialist helped restructure my investments for greater security. The digital evidence expert consulted with me on enhancing security protocols at my company. What began as a professional relationship evolved into a network of mutual respect. 6 months after the divorce, I received an unexpected email from her sister, someone I'd always respected. "She's still tracking you in conversation," she wrote, "constantly asking mutual friends about your life while pretending indifference. But you should know her relationship with him ended. He left when the money did." The information neither surprised nor satisfied me. Their relationship had never been my concern. My freedom from manipulation was. My response was simple: "Thank you for letting me know. I hope she finds peace and moves forward." "I have." The sister's reply came quickly. "You handled everything with dignity. Not many would have." The technologies my ex-wife had used against me became tools I now understood intimately. I volunteered at a nonprofit helping victims of digital stalking and surveillance. Many cases involved former partners using the same tracking methods she had employed. My experience provided practical guidance for those still trapped in the surveillance cycle. 1 year after discovering the tracking app, I stood in my new home, looking out at the view I'd chosen for myself. My phone, secure, untracked, truly private, chimed with a message from a woman I'd been dating for 2 months. Someone who respected boundaries, who communicated directly rather than through surveillance and manipulation. The relationship was developing at a measured pace, built on mutual trust rather than control. She knew my story. I'd been open about the experience without dwelling on it. That must have been difficult, was all she said when I told her, neither pressing for details nor dismissing the impact. Her respect for my privacy after what I'd endured spoke volumes. As I prepared to meet her for dinner, I realized the full extent of what I'd reclaimed. Not just my privacy or finances, but my agency. The 3 attorneys had tracked down my wife, but more importantly, they'd helped me track down my self-respect. The man who walks away from manipulation with his dignity intact isn't defeated. He's truly victorious.
Our story has come to an end. If you've made it this far, how about subscribing to our channel? It helps us immensely. I've selected 2 other videos for you that I'm sure you'll enjoy. Feel free to click on them. I'll be waiting for you in the next story. See you soon.